that's another very, very hot topic that, kind of a subset of IV hydration is, can the provider, whichever level provider they are, like physician or a registered, can they compound? Can they like mix the stuff, in the bag in the office? Or does it have to be purchased from a compounding pharmacy or, another third party? So again, no surprise, depends on the state. Some states allow for compounding in the office and others do not. I'm in Connecticut, like I talked about. And so here, there's every state has very regimented regulations on how this works. Like, in Connecticut, you can combine, I think it's two, medications, right? Two drugs into this bag. And then if you want to do additional, like it has to be administered a certain way. So states are kind of all over the map in compounding. The thing I think folks need to realize is, like, if you're allowed to compound in your office, in your practice, in your state, if your state allows it, you now are not just like under the jurisdiction of the medical board, and or the nursing board, but you now are under the jurisdiction of the pharmacy board, which, it's a lot of boards to be under, right? Like, so you've got to make sure you check your medical board regulations, the nursing regs, if you're a nurse practitioner or an RN, and now you've got to make sure that you're compliant from a pharmacy standpoint. So if you compound in the office, you generally have to do it in a certain manner. There has to be like a very sterile environment, and there's equipment that needs to be purchased. So people, I am always like with our shocker, I'm a lawyer, so we're always like, the cynic, but I'm always like, you got to be really, really careful with administering IVs in general. And if you're compounding, we've got to be even more careful that you're compliant with the state, because like I said, you've just got all these folks who are overseeing what you're doing. Some states, again, they don't allow compounding in the office, in which case you'll have to purchase it from a certain pharmacy. And there's a lot of issues right now with kind of like, I don't know how to say it, but just, fake concoctions and pharmacies that are not kind of FDA approved. This all kind of falls under the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. So there's a lot of pharmacies that are out there that may not be compliant themselves, or may not kind of have the FDA stamp of approval. Again, we've seen like, fake kind of mixtures, and we've seen this come into play with medical weight loss as well, which whole nother discussion for another day, but we've seen that with a lot of the drugs that are happening. So you just have to be really careful. And as a practice owner, you've got a lot to weigh. You've got to vet these pharmacies. If you're ordering from the pharmacy, you've got to make sure you're doing it right if you're doing it in the office. Again, the lawyer hat is always like, don't do this, don't do that. It's a hugely profitable, revenue stream. I think we know that it's really, can be incredibly successful. We have some folks who are doing this like standalone business. All they do is IV hydration. We have others that layer it on in their med spa or their wellness practice. But like anything, you just have to be really careful, because you're dealing with, the practice of medicine. And so there's a lot of considerations there.